This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development companies who are struggling with predictable lead flow, breaking out beyond their network, and a sniper approach to attracting the ideal clients so they can have a smoother sales process, finally have scalability, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because business has fundamentally changed since the pandemic and now the disruption of AI. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead generation, leading to a packed pipeline that creates sustainable revenue and year-over-year growth for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to have a conversation about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the incredible and talented Juliana Marulanda. Juliana, thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
No, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Guys, I am seriously excited for this conversation. The universe has been thwarting us from recording this podcast. And so today is the day, fingers crossed, that we're able to get it out. But I've had the opportunity to speak with Juliana multiple times in different capacities. And she is cream of the crop, best of the best. I'm really excited to have this conversation. So before I hand over the mic, I want to take an opportunity to introduce this powerhouse woman you guys have that you're about to listen to today. With over 20 years of experience across Wall Street, the nonprofit sector, and technology startups and family-owned businesses, Juliana, the founder at ScaleTime, has served over 300 digital agencies. Featured by Forbes and Entrepreneur, Juliana helps up-level businesses into lean, mean, profitable machines. On average, she and her team create ways to free up at least 30 hours per week for her clients so they can have successful agencies that run without them. Founders can find themselves saying, I do what I want, how I want, whenever I want. I mean, as an agency owner myself, I'm like, yes, please sign me up. Juliana is passionate about providing audiences with invaluable tools they can use to instantly start improving their business. Her wealth of agency growth secrets and expertise in growth management will put agency owners and marketers on the path to scaling a business. So guys, if that doesn't get you excited, I do not know what will. She took an opportunity in a previous call to walk me through some of the solutions that she's created for other clients, and the visibility that she's able to create for businesses really is remarkable. It's like what her team does is it's like, well, no, duh, everyone needs this. And so I'm really excited to have her dive into that. So again, Juliana, thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
No, I am just really, really excited to geek out with you.
Yeah, me too. So before we geek out with what you're doing currently with clients, let's take a step back a little bit. So you have a wealth of experience. How did you go from Wall Street to running your own business? I can't imagine that's a common trajectory.
Well, so when I started off on Wall Street, right after college, right, I was looking at spreadsheets for 16 hours a day, and that was not my jam. That was not what I wanted to be doing, and I'm so grateful for the experience, but I'm super high energy. And so that I ended up going and working at for company, and basically as a traveling manager, if you can think about that, doing sports and entertainment venues. So think Ryder Cup, Super Bowl, USTA tennis, things like that, right? And it was wild because I had no management experience. It was totally a fake it till you make it, early 20s, just figure it out. But the gig was, all right, go ahead and interview 100 people a day, right? Do that for about 3-day hiring fair. So speed interviewing. Then they're like, all right, get your team of 50 to 70 people. Train them.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. Train them across these massive resources that are, I don't know, 2-3 kilometers, 1 mile long, right? Resources are totally scattered. I've always looked pretty young. I get there, I look like I'm 13, right? Everyone is twice or, 3 times my age. They're like, who's the manager? I'm like, I didn't know how to manage people, right? I was like, I have no idea. I did know numbers. I knew metrics and I knew systems, right? And so I was like, okay, I was a systems thinker, and I was like, okay, how do we manage less, right? My mantra became manage less by hiring better, training faster. So it was hire better, train faster, manage less. Hire better, train faster, manage less. That became you can think about it my operational mantra, if it were. right? Like, because I was just basically trying to shortcut not managing because I didn't know how, right? Nowadays, I love developing people. I love seeing them grow. I love seeing people get, sort of really promoted, developed, and, leaders creating other leaders. Back then, not so much. And then when my journey kind of got me to start my own business, I realized, I was like, well, what do people want to do? They want to manage less, right? Because owners don't go
Wait more, manage less.
yeah, make more money, manage less. No owner really goes into it being like, I mean, unless you have an HR background, right? You're not like, oh man, I really want to handle, my employees' emotional needs today, right? And be in this conversation and become HR, right? Like where you're kind of like, I want to produce, owners will either come from, like I really, from a sales background, like I'm a rainmaker, or like maybe you're like, you really love like, tinkering with stuff. So you're like more like R&D and figuring out like all the stuff, what's the latest and greatest and making your product really fantastic. But not often do they come in really wanting to deal with like the people stuff, right? Or, and so kind of the operational mantra still stands, right? Like, how do we hire better, trade faster, manage less? When I started the business, and then I really wanted to work with digital agencies because back then they were still are, I think, at the vanguard of, you think about like organizations. And it was really fascinating because when I started, being an operations consultant wasn't like the sexy thing to be. There was no search keywords or traffic for it back then. Like people weren't like, oh man, I really need an operational consultant. Nowadays, you'd be surprised people are looking for that. But back then, it wasn't such a thing. And when I say back then, right, like I'm like, oh, back in the dinosaur age, like 7 years ago. But, it was these organizations, which were really fascinating because you had full-time, part-time, nearshore, offshore, white label, co-label, strategic partners, coalitions. Like, I mean, the way that organizations were being structured in order to fulfill needs and cut costs really interesting to me. And we're talking about pre-pandemic. And I was like, oh, okay. So how do we get the digital operations with fragmented teams that are geographically independent be able to deliver on time every time? And that was really the solution that I wanted to solve. And we did that. And that was really fun.
I love how like your background is very data centric, right? But I love how like it's almost like you've like quantified a qualified problem, if that makes sense. Like you're quantifying a people problem, right? Which is challenging, and I think it's something that most consultants try to do, right, and want to do, right. It's one of the things that I love about like the messaging that you've created around your company of like, we will save X amount of hours of time, right? And you can anchor into that because creating these efficiencies, I think, and like time, my guess is just where it even starts, right? Because like, what do you do with that time? Like, it could just be manage less and you work less, but it could also be like you're putting your time more towards the business issues that need to actually be solved, right? Or the ones that are like lower on your priority list that keep getting kicked down and down and down, right? So
yeah, I mean, I had originally, as I am not a marketer, marketing to marketers is very difficult, and originally I was like, yeah, have your time so you can like go on vacation and, be at the beach and stuff like that, which, hey, it still works, right? And people still want to be able to unplug. But I had found out like my audience didn't actually want their time to like equal more freedom, even though they might say that, right? Like, and I think a lot of it was more around family. Like, yes, I don't want to miss my kids' like soccer game again or whatnot, or like my wife will kill me if I take out the laptop on our family vacation. So yes, right? Like, absolutely. But what I found was really the time reclaimed was for sales, marketing, and strategy, right? Like the stuff that they didn't get enough to do, right? So to really be able to have their organization reach higher potential as they were the bottleneck.
I love it. So what was it like for you when you kind of like found this happy place where like, I love how you said, like, I was looking at spreadsheets 16 hours a day, but I have a lot of energy. You had some butts in there. Like, so like, what is the feeling like for you when you found your happy place of people-y stuff that's still satisfying the data skill set and crave that you've got? Like, tell me about that and like what it felt like to find your thing.
I mean, I think it was like just very liberating, at least for me, right? Because I think I felt like a Jill of all trades, master of none, if it were, for a long time. And I think for me, it was just really having the freedom of choice, like the freedom to play, the freedom to like say, okay, like how do we solve a problem, and can we get at it in a creative way? Can we get at it in a way that maybe isn't necessarily seen by the market at that point, and I'm still doing that. So I am absolutely a tinkerer, I would say, and I love to sort of be able to solve problems. And I think that is where I feel like I'm of the most value and I'm the happiest, where I am in sort of that creation mode of like, how do we take something that is complicated and make it simple and make it easy and fun, if we possibly can make it fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about your personality is like you're very playful,
Mhm.
right? Like you're like your stuff. It's not like you're just like a like a jokester. It's just like whatever. Like I mean, you're incredibly intelligent, but you're also like very very playful, right? And that shines through in like how you communicate and how you think, and it's fun.
Yeah, no, and I mean, and I think considering the stuff that I do, most people find like boring AF, right? They're like, oh my god, I'd rather go bankrupt than deal with this crap. Like I'm serious. And I oftentimes, like, when I'm with a prospect, I'm like, I promise you, I will not make this boring. I promise you, like, this will not be some replay of, Office Space. Like, and oftentimes the people are like, oh man, this is not as painful as I thought it was going to be. This is actually quite easy. This is great.
I love it. Yeah. So in speaking about like the playfulness, for those of you that are watching, you can kind of see Juliana has a gong behind her. For those of you that are listening, she has a gong behind her. But will you share a little bit about what that is and how you use it with your clients?
Yes, I will. And then if I ramble on, cut me off. But so the short answer, we use it to celebrate wins, right? So usually, part of whenever I have a client, like one of the first things that we do is we use it to just really like, hey, like what were your wins for the week, for the, month, for whatnot. And I like to set the stage there because most of us as entrepreneurs, we are in what I call the dopamine gap, right? Which is, you're like, oh, I'm like suffering through a problem, right? Blah, blah, blah. Then I achieved it. And then you're like, all right, I'm on to the next problem. Hopefully it's a sexier problem. It's a bigger problem, right? It's a scaling problem, but you don't actually celebrate the win. And so you don't get the dopamine. Right. And I think it's really important for like our neuroplasticity to recognize and acknowledge wins so that our brain can actually look for more wins, right? It's what athletes do. It's sort of the touch like down dance, or all of the celebration is really necessary so that your brain is looking for more wins as opposed to just more gaps. And so therefore I gong the gong, if it were, because it is not only a happy moment, but it is also creating a neural network of memory.
I love that. I want you to hit it, and I want to see if the speaker's going to pick it up.
I think I might have to like move the microphone. Let's see.
So guys, while she's getting this ready, I want you to think of like something that you can be proud of today. This is your win. This is your gong for the win. Let's go. I love it. So fun. So fun. Thank you for humoring me on that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, any single time I get to ring the gong.
I don't. If there's anyone around you, they're probably like, "Oh, what happened? Like, what? Who won?" So great. Okay, so let's talk tactics for just a moment. So you create these operational efficiencies for digital agencies. What specifically does that look like? Can you like walk us through like some of the solutions that you create for companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that we do is, I think a big deal is documentation, right? Like oftentimes documentation is just, again, boring. It's like one of these things where you're like, I'm gonna have to like sit there and, figure out like how it is that I do the thing that I do for the last 5, 10, 20 years. However, What we have found is that institutional knowledge often is within the people in your organization, whether it's you, the owner, or like your top people, or just all the people, right? Even if you have like a network of freelancers, right? Eventually, it's in people's heads, right? So I kind of call it like
Mm.
downloading your brain. We got to download the brain so that we can train people, so that we can hire managers, so that we understand what quality standards are, so that you can keep up performance. Training increases productivity by 25%. Um, However, most people are like, I don't have time. And recently, which, if you have standard operating procedures, like if you've got SOPs, that can also be used to automate. If you are, let's say, creating an AI agent, which I know is very popular right now, in order to create efficiencies, the best source for your prompting is going to come from your SOPs, right?
Wow.
So, you know, documentation, not the thing that you're like, "Oh my god, it's super fun," but we help a lot of companies document their different processes. And then we also help with other processes like your project management, your client onboarding, your sales process, your hiring, your onboarding team members,
Mm.
right? So if you think through the different processes of your organization and you're like, "Oh, man, why am I still stepping in?" Or why is the quality not there? Or like, holy crap, this person that's like handling this is gonna leave and you're unsure of like how are things gonna work, chances
Mm.
are is because we don't have a process in place where we can plug in a new person. So that is really sort of like on the process side. And then nowadays we are creating data
And are you
solutions.
using tools like I'm seeing like all these ads like Scribe and stuff to like record your screen while you're doing something to like create an SOP for you? Like, are you using stuff like that
Oh,
or?
100%. So I think, so back in the old days, like 4 years ago, because before, like, transcript was cost effective, right? Like, you used to pay people abroad, and it used to be like, I think it was like $1.50 for a minute of video,
Yeah.
right? And I remember Descript back in the day used to do that, like before
Mm.
they went all automated. Fun facts. So yeah, like I think, instead of you trying to, figure out how you do something, the easiest thing that you can do is verbally process, like talk out loud the thing that you're doing, right? So like if you're onboarding a new client, you're like, all right, I am doing an onboarding email. I am sending them this. I am them making sure that their invoices are blah blah blah, right? I am in QuickBooks. I am in our Dropbox. I am in right? And you do a screen share so you can capture the information. Now, I think Loom is a great tool, and Loom now is doing sort of automated SOPs, which is fantastic. So you don't even have to grab the transcription, put it into your favorite AI tool and then ask it for an SOP. Loom is now doing that for you like automatically, which
Wow.
is amazing. Scribe, I really
Good job,
like.
Loom.
We love Loom. Scribe is now I like Scribe for capturing things that are more technical. So I love it for developers. I love it if you're describing some of your like SaaS platforms, right? You're like, okay, if you're running through something with a lot of clicks where you need screen captures, Scribe is great for that. It's not necessarily, I think, cost effective if you're talking through like, how to walk through an agenda with a new prospect for a kickoff, right? Because there's nothing to really click around. It's more of you sort of going through like your own sort of needs analysis or how you're going to do that.
Mhm.
Just kind of different tools are good for different things.
Yeah, that
But
totally makes sense.
I would say absolutely grab a transcript, stick it into your favorite AI tool, and then ask it to either create a checklist for you, create an SOP, or to create a decision tree. Decision trees are really great for when you're asking for an SOP that requires analysis. So, for example, like if you're doing end of the month reporting and you need to say like, okay, well, if our cost of acquisition is this, then you would do that. But if our cost of acquisition is da da da, right? Or like if we didn't hit benchmark this, if not, then that.
Mhm.
Then it's not really gonna get an SOP as well. It's really much better if you ask it for a decision tree.
Hmm, that's really cool. That's good advice. I love that. Yeah, we do that all the time with my agency, specifically with ads. right? Or like email campaigns, like, and analyzing them, because it's like, well, if this metric is here, then it could be a problem with this or this. And if this metric is this way, then it could be a problem with this or that, And so it's very much based on the analytics, like what is the options in terms of like, what are the levers that we need to pull right now?
Yeah, 100%. And then I would say like the other thing that we're doing with clients is data solutions. So really looking at sort of your data as a process, right? Like where is your data, and then how are you tracking that data, and then how are you visualizing that data so that you can better make decisions.
I love it. Yeah. Well, and this is what she was walking me through, guys, she was dashboards that she's created are incredibly customized, and really honestly it's kind of like it like takes like the invisible cloak off of the business of like everything that's confusing. Like it's really, really cool how like she was describing, and if I butcher this, you can like re-explain it, but
Yeah,
like
go for it.
different sources, right? Because every place where data is created, sometimes it has its own nomenclature, and they often don't communicate. And so if you can pull everything into one place, it allows you to like see better into like customer journeys, or deduplicating records, or standardizing what things are called. And so it really creates like a source of truth for like what is going on in the business, which is like just so it's like so ninja, like so
Mm.
bomb worthy, you know?
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, we are like, I think one of the big things right now is that like the world itself is changing very fast, right? Technology is changing very fast. The world is, doing all sorts of interesting things. And so I think the ability to stay competitive is really important. And I think the in order to stay competitive, you have to be able to move quickly. And in order to move quickly, you have to be able to make decisions quickly. And one of the things that I realized with working, now with over like 1,000 agencies, um, is that the time to traction, the time to movement, the time to action is slow, right? And I think part of that is because people don't have the visibility, right? You're like, if you're doing marketing, oftentimes you're waiting on a month-end report. If you're looking at your finances, you're waiting for your bookkeeper to reconcile something, right? And your books. Often it's not like they're not doing it the week after month closes. Sometimes you're getting stuff, you know, 3 weeks later or 6 weeks later, And so, like, you're dealing with numbers that are so far past gone, depending on what, sort of part of the business you're really trying to move. And so when you're dealing with sort of stale old data, it's hard to move quickly and make decisions and stay competitive.
I love that. It's such a good use case, such a good use case for that. And an argument for like every business needing to have that type of solution that is accessible to anyone who's needing to make decisions in the business, right? Super, super important. Okay, so and tell me, like, how does ScaleTime promote your message? Are you doing any outbound, or do you create content? Like what's your outreach strategy so that people can know that you have an operational solution?
Yeah, so right now we get a good amount of leads from SEO, and I would say that's been in the works for a long time, which, as a long-term strategy, it is part of our thing. We do create content. And I think, we've been pretty consistent on LinkedIn. Now we're starting to put stuff out on to Instagram as a new channel, Instagram and TikTok. So, that's I feel like every single channel is always a learning curve. And we are hoping to be doing some outreach and ads soon as we get more of our pulse, which is our data solutions assets, up on par, and really start promoting that particular service, which we're very excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Are you hoping that the data solution like eclipses the other operational stuff, or do you think you'll always do the other, like the operational efficiencies?
It was so is an interesting question, because last year I had a few surgeries, and during that time let's say I was in an editing mood, and I was like, I'm gonna get rid of everything. Which I did not do, and I'm very thankful that I did not do that. But because I love the data and I love geeking out on it, and it's really great. But what I have found is with the companies that really sort of took on being pilots for the data solutions that we've been working with, is that there's a feedback loop between the data performance and operational performance, right? Often I'm like, okay, people need sort of this one what do we call it? The one source of truth, but it really feels like it's a one source of performance. And what we have found is that when things are not performing as well as owners want them to, I can always point them to the operational parts that are missing, right? So it's like, okay, well, if we're looking at sales data and, we're like, oh, well, we really want to, we're doing cold outreach and we're spending a bunch of money. We're doing cold outreach and we're doing ads, we're going through this money, but like we don't know what our hold rates are. And I can point to the fact that it's like, okay, well, your sales team is not pressing the buttons. Like your sales team is not inputting the information. Like we have either a lack of process or a lack of training on the process that has been created. So we are being requested to then go in and help with the operation. So I do think it's somewhat of a symbiotic relationship where we are able to be very successful with helping people visualize their data, but not just visualize it, but like know what they should be looking at different maturity levels. Because what you're looking at 6 figures, 7, 8, 9 is different, especially based on your goals and how to contextualize that for people. Because if you have a data team just kind of come in, they're gonna do the data thing, right? But they're not going to think through your business as someone who's been helping over 1,000 different businesses look at it in the same way. So I guess that was a very long answer. No, we are not getting rid of the operations.
Honestly, it was a perfect answer, right? And I love how you described it as being a symbiotic relationship. And
Mhm.
even like the data solution will make it like a no-brainer sale of like, oh, well, like the data's telling this story. We need to implement this system or process or SOP or like whatever it is. So it's like an obvious, like, well, can you help? And it's like, yes, we can.
Absolutely. And I also says like the data doesn't lie, right? Like the data is just telling you what is existing, right?
Mhm.
But oftentimes is like we're cleaning up the data, we're figuring out like the sources of the data or the inputs, then we're like, okay, well, the process is off or the process is not
Yeah.
existing or the poor, report that your employee was spending 5 hours a week on is off, which, like people just want to cry, but it happens, right? Like, or like go high level, right? Like, or the tool that you're using is overwriting your data. And you're like, what? Right? And so, depending on what you're doing, we are really able to sort of pinpoint like, okay, the data's not lying, but something is off, something is amiss if it were in the operations, and we can help
Mhm.
you with that.
Super interesting. I love it. So you mentioned the like you're rolling out this data offer, you're getting onto new platforms. Like, are those your main initiatives for 2026, or is there like other things as well that's like
Oh no, that's
that you're
enough.
doing?
That's enough. Yeah, with the new, with both of those things, right, is obviously like building out our data team, which, as we're scaling the offer and all that jazz. But yeah, I would say those are kind of our big initiatives is getting the offer really out there and making sure that we've got the team to deliver it.
Yeah, I love it. So fun. And what are some like roadblocks or holes that you're trying to fill? Like questions you're trying to answer, the things that you're like, oh my gosh, like this piece, blah, blah, blah. What's on your plate right now?
I think right now it's the market product fit, right? That's the
Um,
thing that we are, it is a new offer. So we are in sort of the experimentation stage of messaging, right? So is it a data solution? Is it business intelligence? Are we an outsourced data team, right? Like we're in that sort of place of what is the messaging that is most going to stick for our audience. So
yeah.
we're dealing with sort of very elementary but extremely necessary parts of a new product cycle.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even say elementary. I'd just say
Mhm.
foundational. I mean, like
Yeah.
you got to figure that out.
Yeah. So yeah, so we're there. Like we have now a few excellent case studies and we've gotten, super happy clients and now to scale the new service, we are back in that foundational stage, which is
Yeah.
frustrating and exciting.
Yeah. Are you primarily testing things with organic content on LinkedIn to see like what resonates, or what are you doing?
Right now, we have done a bunch of market research. So I would say we're kind of like, we're at that stage. We're like market research and then interviews. And like, we're probably going to start putting stuff on LinkedIn very soon to kind
Cool.
of start testing messaging organically and then probably put some money behind the testing.
Yeah, I love it. So exciting. Well, I'm excited to see what comes of it because people need it for sure. I love it. Well, Juliana, it has been seriously so fun having you and having you illuminate your offers and your business and share your energy and your spunkiness and for ringing the gong, my favorite part of the episode. So thank you so much for everything you brought onto the marketing matrix today.
Thank you so much for having me here. This was super fun.
Yeah. So for people that want to follow you, get in touch with you, uh, get in touch with ScaleTime if it's a good fit for the business, where do people do so?
Yeah, you can definitely go to our website. You can check out our stuff. You can sign up for our newsletter on the website. And if you are like, hey, you know what? I want to kind of figure out what my operations looks like or even what my data looks like, we have a free diagnostic that I encourage everyone to do. It takes 5 minutes. I joke. I'm like, if it's taking you longer than 5 minutes, you're having feelings about it. It is on the website, is at scaletime.co/scalemap. And you will get a heat map of your entire operations. So you can see where you are, sort of your bottlenecks are red, yellow, green. And basically, if it's red, there's chances are you're losing money. And we don't like that. So, absolutely it gives you a visual. And if you sign up for a newsletter, then, we will send you a bunch of content that will have you do sort of like little micro actions that create big impact.
I love that. I love that. Guys, well, I'm going to put the links to the website as well as that assessment and Juliana's LinkedIn profile links all in the episode notes, so you can link out to that directly. Yeah, I'm really excited. And I love that you have an assessment tool. It sounds so cool. I mean, who doesn't want a heat map of the efficiencies and effectiveness of their business? So
I mean, everybody
pretty
wants
good.
a heat map, right?
Everyone loves a heat map. I love maps. I use heat maps all the time for like where are people scrolling and stopping on a
Oh,
landing
yeah,
page
absolutely.
and stuff like that. So it's all good. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. And we know that your time is valuable. So for you to take some moments with me and with Juliana means the absolute world. So until next time on the Marketing Matrix.